Hello, Dr. Victoria. How are you today?
I'm very fine, thank you.
Yeah, good to meet you. And good
Good
to
to
speak to
meet
you
you
today.
too.
Yes.
I
Sorry
hear an
for.
echo.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's my headphones. Let me remove it and then we test. Still echoing.
Okay, right now it's okay, it's fine. But
Okay.
I tried
Okay.
with
So I
my
just let me just.
laptop. Yeah, I'm just using my phone. So I'm holding my phone. I don't know if even the view is very fine because I tried with my laptop and it just has some issues. So I'm just on phone.
Okay. Even myself, I'm using my phone. I think the laptops are just there to
Oh,
mess up.
okay.
So how are you? I mean, you have a number of books now, right?
Yeah, I do have a few books, yes.
Are they up to five now, or more than five?
Up to five, but there are some coming up this year, so it will definitely be more than five.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please remember to let me be on your next book.
I remember to do it.
I said, please let me be on your next book.
Oh, yeah. What are your areas of interest? I'll definitely let you know so that you can contribute. Yeah.
Hmm. I think there was one I was we actually agreed that I would contribute on, which was on mining. But unfortunately,
Oh,
I just couldn't. On mining, you have a book on mining.
yes, mining. Yeah, mining,
Mhm.
land regulation. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for coming on. I think we're already live, so we'll be having others join us. Thank you
All
for
right.
coming on. And let me introduce you to our guests.
Okay.
Today we have Dr. Victoria Nanuli. She's the Chief Executive Officer of Nanule Energy and Minerals Consulting. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And of course,
Thank you
yeah,
very much for
she's
having
also a
me.
lecturer in University of Bradford. I think, yeah, you know that.
Yes, 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 that's true.
So we just go straight to our discussion for today, and um, we're supposed to be discussing some of those salient points and some of the issues that bedeviling the energy industry in Africa, the energy space in Africa. And the first question I would like us to discuss would be, what do you think should be the way that African nations should balance the dichotomy between clean and fossil fuel energy when mapping out their energy plans for the new decade?
All right. First and foremost, thank you very much for having me to discuss this very important topic. It's not only important in Africa, but it's also really a global topic because of the current energy crisis we're seeing in different countries, including African countries in Europe. So the issue of energy is really at the center of our economic development. It's at the center of our everyday life because of the rising fuel prices, gas prices,
Mhm,
which is
mhm,
definitely impacting different people. So, with respect to the African continent, the energy challenges are quite unique because when you're talking about energy in Africa, you also have to look at the various unique challenges we're experiencing, especially the
mhm,
issue of energy access, which I mostly call energy poverty, as indicated in my first book, which was on energy poverty and access challenges in sub-Saharan Africa. So with Africa, you see like 600 million people lack access to modern energy, that is
mhm.
electricity and LNG for cooking. And when you have this number of people lacking access, it becomes hard. Sorry, can you hear that?
Yeah, yeah.
It's an
Wait,
alarm. Okay. All right.
okay.
So when you have that number of people lacking access, it becomes hard to balance the climate needs of the continent and also at
Yeah.
the same time be able to tackle the challenges that these countries are facing. So in summary, African countries really have to first and foremost invest more in all types of energy, not only clean energy, because there is sorry, I think that is going to take long, but I think we can continue, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so they have to invest more in all forms of energy, including both fossil fuels and clean energy. But we are seeing that on the continent, there are already initiatives to invest more in clean tech, in clean energy. There are already various renewable energy projects in Uganda, where I come from. In Nigeria, there are various renewable energy projects, including solar energy. In Kenya, they have lots of clean energy initiatives. So the issue of clean energy, there's already enough initiatives or even investments in that sector. But the question would be how to balance the various challenges of the different countries when it comes to investing in both clean energy and also fossil fuels.
Okay.
Sorry about that. It's an alarm and it's not going to go off anytime soon.
Okay. Is this something you can take a second to just switch off?
Sorry.
I say, is this something you can take a second to turn off?
Let me just. No, I don't think it will go off, but what I can do, maybe get a different location.
Okay. Okay.
Do you want us to pause? I just go outside, maybe.
Okay. Okay. Sure. You can just
Okay.
maybe turn off your camera for a couple of seconds.
Hello, sorry about that. I think now we can continue.
Okay. No, not a problem. Okay, good then. Very good. Okay.
That was really bad. All
No,
right.
it's all right. It's all right. Although we can't see you yet.
Okay. Let me just put my camera on.
Okay.
All right. So maybe we can go to the next question.
Hmm. Okay, so I mean, you've talked about investment in the different forms of energy technologies, so as
Yeah.
one of the pathways to actually improving energy access in Africa. So, I think the next question would be, what do you think is the place of collaboration between African countries in respect to meeting their SDG goals and bridging that energy access gap
The plus of collaboration within amongst themselves or even with different players.
among themselves?
Oh, so yeah, it's actually very important for African countries to collaborate because given the common energy challenges they're experiencing on the continent, they're well suited to find common solutions. And that's what in most cases I call like regionalism and regional cooperation. Because when you're talking about the energy sector, you also have to be aware of the geographies of the energy sector, including the geographies of energy transition. Whereas, like in the West or in the developed countries, they're more focused on issues of affordability. In developing countries, it's more of a couple of both affordability and accessibility. So you realize that you can't employ the same solutions that are being employed in Europe to solve the challenges that are being faced in Africa. So that calls for collaboration amongst African countries, first to identify the unique common challenges they're experiencing in the energy sector, including the issues of infrastructure development, because that has been a very big issue, whereby we're seeing even on the continent, whereas we have the resources, for instance, oil and gas, you find that most of the resources are being refined in different countries because most countries lack refineries. So there's
Yeah.
that issue of infrastructure development that is practically or essentially unique to developing countries, because in the developed world they've really invested a lot in infrastructure development. Then the other issue would be on even like transportation, including oil and gas pipelines, because you see those are also, they are limited in the African continent. But when you compare, like in Europe, they have over 30 oil and gas pipelines. So those are
Yeah.
some of the unique challenges that are being faced in Africa that definitely require African countries to collaborate amongst themselves to see how they can be able to solve these unique challenges by employing common solutions to those unique challenges they're experiencing.
Oh, thank you for that. That's actually very insightful. So I mean, over time, we've also been saying that, I mean, among stakeholders of the African space, there have been a number of, I mean, African stakeholders have actually been making concerted efforts to actually meet energy security challenges. So, what do you think are some of these challenges, and what do you think are the solutions to these challenges?
Challenges for meeting energy security.
Yes, energy security. Yeah, energy security.
Okay, so we're not like issues of energy security or even energy access, just like it's like goal 7 of the SDGs, and the
Mm-hmm.
other United Nations sustainable goals that have to be achieved by different countries, including goal 1 on eradication of poverty. So whereas
Yeah.
energy, it's really a very important topic, we note that that's not the only challenge that African countries have to tackle. We are seeing challenges with respect to eradication of poverty, whereby a number of people live below the poverty line. That is, they depend on less than $1 per day for eating. And then we are
Mm-hmm.
seeing health issues. Most countries are still struggling with having good health facilities. You go in rural
Yeah.
areas, most people don't really have hospitals. You are seeing the general infrastructure issues, including schools. So with all these challenges, including issues of debt, because most countries are really into they're into debt, they cannot even repay their debts or finance their debts. So with all these
Yeah.
challenges, then you are faced with the issue of energy security. So that makes it hard for African countries to um, devise means of balancing how to get some resources focused on just solving SDG 7, that is on energy access and energy security, and also balancing the needs to finance other projects that are focused on tackling other challenges. So that's one thing I see. The issue of finances, it's really very keen, because energy and energy investments, they're very expensive ventures requiring
Mhm.
billions of money, which is beyond the reach of any government or even any investor. So at the end of the day,
Mhm.
they have to really find the finances that are needed to invest in this energy sector to be able to tackle energy security. And the other thing that is really important is the aspect of being able to find their unique solutions, because African countries or the African continent, even including other developing regions like Asia or even Latin America, for a long
Yeah.
time we have been following what is in the limelight. By I always call it the streetlight effect, whereby you will follow what other countries are doing. If it's an issue of energy security, and let's say the developed world is saying it's time to let go of fossil fuels, you will see some Africans also following that path. And then you're like, but
Yeah.
what are you talking
Yeah.
about? You're trying to compare yourself to a country that has utilized fossil fuels for centuries and centuries. So we need
Yeah.
to let go of that limelight or of the streetlight effect and
Right.
be genuine of the unique challenges we are facing, find out the solutions we have, find out what is missing, including when you're talking about energy security now, we really need more finances to invest in these energy resources or in energy investments to be able to tackle those issues. So one of the challenges as to why we're not ensuring energy security, first is the finances, the other thing is the
Mhm.
infrastructure. and also the policies also matter, because you're seeing right now with the gas crisis, or even oil and gas crisis in Europe and America, you're seeing now most African countries want to export their resources to these countries. So do we have policies that can at least limit the import, in that countries can first take care of their energy needs before satisfying other people's energy needs? So yeah, in brief, that's it.
But I mean, talking about the streetlight effect, right? Would you be more in support of? I mean, of course, and there's been this argument that African countries that are rich in fossil fuels and which cannot afford the advanced technologies of renewables like the developed countries. Um, what's your position on that argument that African countries should first develop their fossil fuels and then maybe later in time catch up, so that in order to catch up with the foreign developed countries? I mean, considering that, of course, the finance is an issue, and then many African countries cannot even afford the advanced technologies of renewables.
I think that shouldn't even be an argument whether countries should develop fossil fuels or not. That shouldn't be an argument, because now in the 21st century, you're seeing countries that were saying that they are ready to get rid of fossil fuels, they're investing more in fossil fuels. We can look at the Biden administration. When he first came to power, he was a pro-climate change activist, saying, oh, we have to get rid of these fossil fuel investments, we have to do this and this. The UK was taking the same move. You look at the European Bank in 2019, they passed a policy banning funding for fossil fuels. The EU was doing the same thing. But now in the 21st century, as we're talking right now, they're trying to look for fossil fuels from everywhere. They're trying to look for oil and gas from everywhere, investing more in oil and gas. So that shouldn't be an argument on the African continent that they should pause investments in fossil fuels. No. With the energy challenges we're experiencing, we have to utilize all energy resources, including both fossil fuels and renewables. And like I mentioned, there are already investments in the renewable energy sector, but what we have to avoid is this issue of criticizing countries that are trying to invest in fossil fuels. We should invest in both renewable energy and fossil fuels.
Well, but if we continue to invest in fossil fuels, how do you think that it will affect our commitments, our net zero commitment under the Conference of Parties?
Then now those net zero commitments, they have to be realistic. Like I mentioned, I always mention that no one is a climate change denier. We are seeing climate change happening in different countries. We're seeing the impacts of climate change, and we agree we really need to be practical. I mean, we need to tackle climate change. But you can't tackle climate change using emotions. You need to be practical with your solutions. And the practical bit about it is, whereas we really need to tackle climate change, we are also faced with the massive energy challenges, which are even leading to inflation in different countries. So the solution wouldn't be to really stop funding for fossil fuels, but the solution would be to invest more in clean technology like carbon capture and other innovative technologies that can help us to utilize these resources in an environmentally sustainable manner, so that we are mindful of the climate change impacts and we are willing to tackle climate change, but we're also mindful of the practical challenges we're facing right now. Now, especially in 2022, I always ask myself, where exactly are these climate change activists who have been on the road protesting funding for fossil fuels? Because with the hike in oil and gas, people are not even mindful about the environment. They are concerned about what they're going to eat right now. They're concerned about now, like in Europe, it's more of an issue of, can I be able to have enough heating when you are going through winter? In Africa, can you be able to access electricity? So those are the practical challenges people are concerned about. Climate change is also a practical challenge, but we need to simply invest in technology to see that countries can still utilize these resources, but in an environmentally acceptable manner or friendly manner that will not damage the climate at once. But we don't need to be so emotional and impractical, try to come up with initiatives or even solutions that are not going to work. And then after 2 years down the road, you're like, oh, we made a mistake. Let's go back to this policy because the other
Yeah.
policy, it was really influenced by the street light effect.
Thank you so much. I mean, this conversation has been very, very insightful, and so because of the time, let's look at. I mean, I will ask you one or two more questions, and then we can just wrap it up. So, I mean, in all of these things, we've been looking at the practicalities of it. But when do you think, how do you think we as Africans can actually address the divergence between regulation and implementation of sustainable energy in Africa?
Regulation and implementation. Most African countries, we have very good laws on paper, but the challenge has
Mm-hmm.
always been on implementation. And one of the ways on how we can ensure effective implementation is by having like effective institutions. So we need to
Yeah.
invest more in institutions that can be able to implement these laws. And also the other thing that sometimes makes it hard to implement some of these laws, it's because the laws are good on paper, but in practice it's hard to actually convince the normal people or the local communities on how to impact or affect these laws. So first we need to have institutions, and also we need to train people. We need a lot of capacity building and trainings for people to accept these laws and also be able to implement them. And also the other thing really would be to strike a balance in the different laws, because if you look at energy law and policy, it's influenced by other laws and policies. It's
Yeah.
influenced by the financial laws, the taxational laws. So how are
Mm-hmm.
they impacting, or how are they being impacted by these energy and sustainability laws? So there's a need to draw that balance, because if you have like the energy law or sustainable laws that are really not in compliance, or they contradict the other laws and policies, then it will be hard to implement such a law, because it's hard to pick which law to implement and which law not to implement. So there's a need to also strike that balance between various laws and also invest more in institutions.
Mm-hmm. That's true. You're very, very correct. You're very correct. But how is Uganda doing on the, I mean, on meeting its energy needs and also climate change commitments? I mean, I know you're from Uganda, so just
Yes,
how Uganda
yes.
is doing.
Yeah, Uganda passed the Climate Change Act. We have various renewable energy institutions. We have various initiatives to promote energy efficiency, renewable energy. So the commitments are there because it has been an ongoing thing. We have a lot of investments in hydropower, because most of our electricity comes from hydropower. So that's all renewable energy. And it's one way of really mitigating the climate change uh, climate change actions or even goals. But on the other hand, we also have oil and gas. We have invested in our oil and gas resources. The final investment decision was made, and we're seeing companies like Total taking really measures to invest more in the oil and gas sector. So what I would say for Uganda, we are balancing the development of both our renewable energy sector to be able to tackle climate change, and at the same time we are also open to utilize our fossil fuels to tackle the various energy access challenges the country is facing.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. I guess we'll come to the end of to this conversation on energy energy law, and also we'll discuss about climate change. And Dr. Victoria Nalule has given us more insights. I mean, it's been very insightful conversation on all of this. Thank you so much, Doctor, for taking your time. I know it's a busy period for you.
Thank you very much for having me, and I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to further collaboration. Have a lovely
Then,
day, and bye bye.
all right. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye. Okay, bye.
All right.